Hey, good evening folks. I decided to record the video about my self-healing program after a drastic fall on a bicycle that I gone through. On Tuesday night I was about to do my regular 60k with a group of Boardman race team riders, and we've met on about 20th k of my ride. Chatted a bit, started off going easy zone 2, and at about like 40 kilometers an hour I was rotating with the guys in the peloton. I was at that moment the third one, and we were going through a road in Singapore that is around the eastmost point of the island where the airport is. It's called New Changi Coastal Road, New Tanah Merah Road, whatever. That road has a bicycle lane, but the problem is they're building a new airport terminal there, and thus there are lots of really heavy trucks. They carry a lot of debris, a lot of stones. So the guys in front of me did not signal and they didn't shout for the stone. They somehow managed to get around a big massive stone, and I was the third one in the peloton sitting on the wheel of the guy in front of me on my road bike, not on the tri bike of course. So basically, long story short, I don't remember what happened. I'm on the ground, completely knackered, hoping that I didn't break anything. The guys behind me somehow avoided collision with me. I crawled onto the grass, slowly got up, realized that I'm completely whackered, blood all over my body. Couldn't get a cab, let the guys go. Bike was like pipe dev null. Somehow managed to get a taxi, went into the GP freaked, general practitioner here in Singapore. It's like the small cleaning guy freaked out of me. He sent me to the emergency. Lucky me is not too far, like a couple of blocks away. Walked into the emergency, they freaked out. Clearly done about like 7 x-rays, no bones broken. Lucky me again. Done a couple of ultrasonics for the internal organs. Again, nothing wrong. Patched me up, dressed a lot of bruisers, removed small stones and those wicked particles. Given me the medical certificate so that I don't have to work for a couple of days. Given me massively drowsy painkillers and just sent me home with a bye-bye kiss. So then comes the story that I really want to tell. So here comes the story that I really wanted to tell about like how to heal on day 2, day 3, day 4, how to fast forward healing the bruisers after you fall from the bike. So this is my recipe. I'm not a doctor, but like this really works for me, and I do that. Lucky, not every time that I fall, but since I've fallen down in my life quite a few times, this is the same recipe that I apply. So take a look. All these bruisers on the left hand side of my body, you can see that they're they have a big area, but they're not too deep. So it's basically like skinless, kind of like flesh open, and it's all over my body. I have like a massive one on the buttock. I'm not showing it definitely. My hamstring also like suffered a bit. The upper part of the leg, the knee. So again, nothing broken. For that, is critical to show up in the hospital so that they do the X-rays and make sure that there are no bones broken, no problems. So the recipe is very simple. First day is you just sleep as much as you can. Seriously, what you really need to do after you've been to hospital, and assuming you've already gone through all the needed antiseptics that they would apply some patches for you. Most importantly, just take as much rest in the first night as you can. Take as many painkillers as it could be by prescription. Just rest. Please rest, and drink as much water as you can. Then what next comes is you remove those covers, the dressings from your wounds, and you will soon find out that they keep on producing fluids. This is lymph. So the way that our bodies are structured is lymph kind of creates a small jelly mass. It's not correct to say that it coagulates just like blood. Blood coagulates into this kind of gel state when we see the blood clots. But similar thing happens to the lymph. So what it does, it covers the wound to protect it from evaporating the so much needed moisture from the body. And it's basically a very outdated reaction. I'm not a doctor, but it's my personal view on that. It's been necessary when we were hunters many thousand years ago to cover up wounds so that we don't lose moisture, because there were not too many sources of fresh water. Now we can just go and drink from the tap, have a Diet Coke or Coke Zero, have a coffee or a decaf, so there is no problem with moisture. But what happens is when we constrain the wound from access of the oxygen by putting a cap on top of it, it actually does not have enough oxidization so that the blood coagulates actively and the tissues are able to repair in their regular conditions. So actually those kind of like yellowish, it looks like this one is actually a little bit covered with lymph on top. I couldn't remove it completely. So this lymph cover is actually not optimal. So what you really need to control is, like, by the end of the day, you need to carefully dry up your wounds and also remove that lymph so that only the tissues are exposed. It's kind of painful, and so my strategy for that is, like, first day I just sleep, take rest. Second day I do a cool shower. I expose myself to moisture. I know this is something that is not recommended, but like, I'm very proud of Singapore water quality, so I'm not risking anything. The water is really clean. So what I do is I rinse the wounds and I apply some soap, the pH neutral soap that you can buy in any shop, just to make sure that I can scrape the remains of that lymph, that kind of like jelly state, from all around the wound. Slowly, carefully peel that lymph, the yellowish piece from the wound, so it's open, and then I just dry it out a bit. If it starts bleeding, I apply the good old friend of ours, hydrogen peroxide. I apply it with a decent amount of patching. It's kind of painful again, but it allows you to stop the blood. Then you dry it. So after a while, you should make sure that the wound looks open, but it's not getting the lymph out. There's no blood on it. There's no bleeding out of the wound. It's kind of like open, not necessarily beautiful, but it's kind of dry. So what you do is, like, you just hang around as long as you can in the ambient temperature of your house with this kind of open wound, let it dry, and then before you go to sleep, you assess your wounds. So if there are some that are non-stopping, they really look that they will start getting the lymph out once again, what you do is you apply a little bit of antiseptic cream. There are a variety of them. There are some powder antiseptics that you could buy for open wounds. If there are some that are actually open and too dry, you apply on the opposite side. You apply a little bit of a bepanthen. This is the protection and healing gel that you usually can find in kids section of any pharmacy. You apply a very thin layer onto your wounds and then patch yourself up for the night, only for the night. You patch yourself up with a little bit of tissues, just the regular medicine tissue, so that it does not suck all this cream in. You apply that tissue on top of your wound, and then again patch yourself with a massive semi-transparent patch. This is my favorite one. So you have this kind of like a big patch, and then you can see it's kind of like a window. So you have a patch on top of the tissue covering a little bit of cream. Cream covers that open wound that is a little bit too dry for you to go to sleep. And again, take a long rest. From the opposite side of the spectrum, this is the kind of things you do to your body. From the opposite side of the spectrum, what I do these days is I load up on vitamin C and iron. So these are the two most important aspects for your speedy recovery. You really need antioxidant. You really need vitamin C from broccoli, from oranges, you name it. There are many sources of vitamin C. And you also need a lot of iron, because iron is the essential part of hemoglobin, the protein that is needed to help you carry the oxygen through the blood to repair the tissues within your wounds. So what you really need to eat for iron, there are like sources of hema and non-hema iron. Hema iron definitely is coming from animal meats, so for vegetarian friends of ours, is probably not a good option. Although the absorption of hema iron is much higher, so if you're able to consume high amount of low-fat meat, that is actually a really good chance. And the non-hema kind of iron is easily sourced from legumes, from leafy, especially dark green type of leafy vegetables like spinach, you name it, lots of other sources. These few days I've been loading up on soups without any base, without any noodles, without any rice in it, just literally boiled spinach, boiled broccoli, lots and lots of it. Eaten a lot of oranges. That kind of freaked out my calorie intake, because fruits, especially oranges, they're actually calorie rich. That I had to kind of like balance with the rest of my diet, because I didn't exercise. Exercising in this kind of with this kind of wounds is counterproductive. You can actually get more infection with your physical activity, so don't do that. Just think about like what you eat and then load up on iron and vitamin C, and rest. Most importantly, just sleep as much as you can, take painkillers, relax, make sure that you're on positive side of things. You understand that, yeah, the bike, I don't know what would be the cause when like you watch this video, but maybe you fall, maybe you've already fallen, maybe it's just like as a precaution. Check the bike is okay. It's actually much more important. These kind of things, they gotta heal with time. The bike is an expense. You remember you have an expensive bike, right? So make sure that you know your strategy, what needs to be fixed on the bike, what will be your first ride after that. Keep on positive side of things. Imagine that this is just the risk reward kind of type of sport. Bicycle, pelotons, racing, there is always a risk of incident, so sometimes you gotta pay the dues. Stay cool, guys. Remember, keep the wounds dry, apply, first go to the emergency, go to the doc, go see the doc, then self-heal them properly, get them dry, apply bepanthen, make sure that the lymph does not cover the wounds with the cap, keep them clean, load yourself on iron and vitamin C. Cheers, guys.